Hello, everybody. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes to allow everyone to join the room. Hopefully, everyone's going to get in. Okay, so getting ready to start in just about a minute or so, and I'll be back. Okay, I think we're ready to go here. So thanks everybody for coming along. So this, if you've been to any of the previous webinars we've done, this one's going to follow the same format. This time we're focusing on really for primary schools. Everything we've done before has really had nurseries at the top of the agenda, but there's lots and lots of primary schools out there using the system now. So we're going to focus on a bit of some of the functions that are more relevant to primary schools and what you might use those for. This works the same as all the other ones. Somewhere on your screen there will be a Q&A button, and if you want to ask a question anytime, then just stick it in there. I've got another screen open over here where I can see any questions that come in, and I'll get to them either at the end or I'll just answer them as they come in. So you can let me know if there's any questions at all, or if there's anything specific that you want me to go into. I don't think it's going to be too long, this one, because I'm not going to focus on things like the very basics of taking an observation or creating a story or things like that. We have other videos that we've done a few times this week on that, and we might come back to that and do more videos, but I'm not going to focus on those features at the moment, not the very basics anyway. And I'm at home at the moment, so if there is an interruption from either a dog or a child, I do apologise, and I'll try and kick them out of the room as quick as I can. So I'm just going to share my screen with you just now, and once I do that, you'll hopefully be able to see my computer as well. So there we go. I'll move this over here out of the way. So yeah, just to repeat that, if there's any questions that you want to ask, stick them in the Q&A box, and we will get to those at some point throughout the session. So what I've got here, I'm logged into my account, my demonstration account, into the primary version of it. Now, there is a nursery and a primary school version. For those of you who aren't aware, or if you're in a nursery and you don't have a primary school version, the way to access that is to click on your face up the top here, and you'll see, if you're in the nursery, it'll say switch to primary, and if we're in the primary, it'll say switch to nursery. So that's how you would access that. If you don't have that, get in touch with us and we'll sort all that out for you. Make sure you're using the correct system, because the benefit of using the primary function is that you've got more primary school focused terminology. So things like your job roles are teacher, head teacher, deputy principal. Your classes are called classes, they're not called rooms. So yeah, so if you haven't got that, do let us know and we'll switch that over for you. Vary's just come in there, or Mary's just come in there to ask how she can access other videos that might have been missed. That's really easy. If you just go onto our website, which is this here, learningjournals.co.uk, scroll all the way down the bottom and you'll see a link to our webinars. Open that up, and that's got a link to all the previous ones that we've done. And we do actually have a YouTube channel, but this is probably the best way to do it, to get to the videos, is to come to our website, look at webinars, and you can see them all here. So anyway, I'm going to jump back into our primary account here, and we can see that if you're familiar with the nursery, the way the nursery one works, it's very, very similar. So we've got our tabs along the top, and I'm in our children tab here, which shows us the different classes that I've got set up for this demonstration account. So we've got primary 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can have as many of these as you want. There's no limit to those. And if we go into a class, we can see all the children in there as well. So here they all are. So here's all our primary 5 children, P5 children. And if we click on this smart looking young chap down here, we can see his profile. So these are demonstration children. So these are not real children and not real observations, but it works the same way. So we've got all our observations down the right hand side, and we can scroll down those and we can go as far as we want. I said I wasn't going to go into it, so the core of the system has been able to add observations and add stories, so I won't go into the process for that. In case anyone is unsure of the difference between an observation and a story, an observation is to document learning that's taking place. A story is really just an experience, or if you want to communicate something to the children, you can use a story. So an observation will link it to a framework. You'll have your experiences, outcomes. You can have ratings, so traffic light rating to track and monitor progress and development can all be done through observations. A story, if I go in here, a story is literally just one page about what were we doing. We can upload media, so I could say a photo or a video, and we can publish that straight away. So a story is really just an experience. An observation is documenting significant points of learning. So hopefully that's quite straightforward. We have recently, or in the last 6 or 7 months, introduced the ability for children to create their own observations. So this is really useful for, especially for the older children. So for maybe primary 5, 6, 7s, children can log in and they can create their own observations. So I'll quickly take you through how that is managed. You will need to set this up first of all, if you haven't done so already. So to enable children to log in with their own accounts, you just first of all have to go to configuration. And this option will only be available to sort of management level users. If you don't have this, speak to either your head or deputy head. They'll be able to arrange this for you. So we're in configuration, and down here we've got this option called settings. And there's a few different options in here. I'll go into this in depth in other videos. But the one that we're really wanting to look at is this one down here, child logins. So make sure you've got this set to enabled. This will allow you to be able to create child logins for whichever classes you want. And like we've done here, we can set it for all classes, or we can say we only want it for certain classes. So if I only wanted the primary 4s and 5s to be able to do that, we could do that there. I'm not going to make any changes to that. And yeah, so that's how, as long as you come in here and under child logins, make sure you've got child logins enabled. You will then, if we go back to our children tab, what you will then see are, or this button here will have appeared. So you'll be able to see this child login button. So if you haven't got that, make sure it's gone into your settings and you can turn that on so you can see this. And this is how you basically start kick the whole process off. So when I come into my child logins, you get to choose your rooms or your classes. And if we go down to our P5s again, I've only enabled one child. So if we look at all of our, we've got 2 tabs here, QR codes and children. If I enable all my children, let's see, I want to do that. What this is doing is creating, in the background, it's creating accounts for them. And you could send them these details. They've got their own username and password. But a much easier way for children is to use this QR codes tab here. So if I come back to this QR codes, it's now generating a code for all those extra children. And what you'll probably find that children are actually much more adept at this than a lot of adults are. It took me a little while to get my head around it, but what we can do with QR codes, these are just basically barcodes that can be scanned. So a child can scan this barcode. So Burton here could scan his barcode and it would take him directly to his login page. Now I can't do that on my laptop here because I'm on my laptop, but they would just take their phone or an iPad or whatever it would be, scan this barcode, and it would take them straight to it. So the idea would be that as a teacher, you can print out these QR codes using this function at the top here, or and then you could stick it into their jotters or have it in the have it somewhere in the class when you get back to classroom. So you could have that there and available for them so they can always easily log in. It's to stop them having to remember usernames and passwords. At the moment, you can maybe send these home to school, so you could take screenshots of each of these. It's important to note, though, that as we said in our little paragraph here, these codes are not to be shared with anyone outside of the school, and individual codes are not to be shared with other children or families, because these will take the child directly to their profiles. So you want to make sure that it's only Burton is getting to see his own code, and etc. Okay, so let's see, if we go to the actual instructions for how a child will log in are up here as well. So when a child login is enabled, they can log into the children only website at children.yourlearningjournals.co.uk, and I've got that open in another tab here. Let's see if I can get to it. There we go. So when they come to children.yourlearningjournals.co.uk, if we're not using a QR code, we're asked to put in the login details that we've got here. Now I've just already got Burton saved, so I'm going to put these here. And what they will need to do is put in their date of birth. So this is an extra little security check for the child to make sure it's their correct child. So I just happen to note that, or happen to know that Burton's date of birth is the 12th of December 2010. And let's log in so we can see his profile. So you'll notice that a child profile is much different to, or much more stripped down than a staff one is. So really all that Burton can do here is, all he can do is look at his previous observations and add new ones in, and he can also comment as well. So I've just got a couple of test ones that we've done in here. So nothing really groundbreaking, but it's really just a short test so you can see how that works. But here's each observation. Teachers and pupils can also comment on their own observations as well. At the moment, it's just a like or adding a comment, but we will be adding the ability for them to attach documents. And that would be really useful at the moment, especially because if you might be sending homework, then they can complete that homework and attach documents to that as well. The way that Burton here would add his observations in, well, he's only got one really big button that you can do. So he clicks on add observation, and it looks very similar to the story. So you can put in the, so let's say I was doing my maths homework, for example. This is optional. What did he learn? So you can put that in there. You can optionally also say how confident does he feel about his learning. So this might be a useful thing within schools to have. And then he gets to upload media. So at the moment, we can only upload pictures. But as I say, we're going to allow attachments as well. So I've got one of the botanics here. I'm going to upload. Let's upload that picture there. And if we want to, we can add in next steps as well. And once he's done that, that's him done, and he can click on finish, and that's his observation completed. So there he is, he was doing his maths homework, and there's the picture that he's added in, looks very nice. And that's all they have to do. So if you have been sending homework home, children could take pictures of it at the moment and upload that to here. Soon we'll be getting, as I say, the ability to add attachments. So we'll be able to do like Word documents, PDFs, Excel files, videos, whatever. So I'll be able to get that too. Now, if I go back to my staff profile here, what we can do, if we go to our children tab, and let's look at Burton's, let's go straight to Burton's profile. And what we've got is, there we are. While we're waiting for this one to load, Helen's just put a question into the chat there. I don't know if everybody could see it, but what are the timescales for uploading other things than photos? When is soon? I can't give you a date for that, Helen, at the moment. It's just something that we're working on. We are, these sort of features were not something we had intended to do as quick as we have had to do them. So we are just working through a list of lots of features that we want to get done. I'm afraid I can't give you a date of when that will be, as we're working on it as quick as we can. If you've been to any other webinars, there's loads of features and ideas that come through from these, and it just all adds to a big list. But this is one of the priorities for us, because we want to ensure that primary schools have got access to everything that they need to be able to effectively teach remotely. So we're going to make sure that's one of our priorities there. So if we come back to Burton's profile, we can see that what he has done has come in as a story. So at the moment, it's just a story and it's an experience, and you'll see that it's saved for later. So the reason for that is that we don't want Burton to be able to publish anything without it being signed off by someone from the school or a teacher. So that's gone in as saved for later. And I can also see this if I go to my home tab. And we can see on our home tab here that we've got Burton's little story that he's added in. I was doing my maths homework. We can see this icon tells us it's been created by the child and who it was created by, and it's set as saved. If I wanted to only focus on observations created by children, I could do just check this drop-down menu, and I can say I only want to look at observations created by children, and it just shows me that there. So we can see this is saved. If I wanted to, I could immediately publish this using this drop-down, the same way as we do for all of our other observations and stories, and I can just click on, change it from saved to published. However, that just publishes it as a story. So if you remember, we said that a story is an experience and an observation is linked to learning. So what you might want to do is convert this story into an observation. And the way you would do that is you just edit the story here, and we can use this button at the top to convert it into an observation. Now, if you're at all unsure about anything I'm talking about here, just send up questions and we'll get to that. But yeah, if I click to convert this observation, we get a little note to say that once converted, the observation's status will be reset to save for later, and we need to add in outcomes before we can publish it, because an observation can't be published unless it's linked to a framework. So let's go ahead and convert that. And we'll now see that we've got the opportunity, sorry, instead of just going on to the to publish it or save it, we can move on to the next stage, which is our regular observation process. And we can go into our, we see here, sorry, our outcomes. Now, Burton here, for those of you who are not in Scotland, we are in our framework's called the Curriculum for Excellence, and he's on what we call the second level. And down below, we've got the experiences and outcomes from the second level. So we're in literacy and English at the moment, and we can add in an outcome to this observation just with these green buttons on the right hand side, using those green buttons there. So we add them in. You'll see that some of these have got numbers and some of them don't. This just tells you how many observations that Burton has linked to this part of the framework already. So we can see they've got one observation linked to this statement here. We can go across different areas. So we're in literature and English, but we can go into numeracy and maths. And I can click on some maths outcomes, and we can add those in as well. They all appear at the top, and here's me actually going through the whole observation creation process, but we'll just finish this one here. So we can, our outcomes have appeared at the top, and we can then move on by selecting red, amber, green for this particular outcome. As you probably know, the ratings that you apply here, red, amber, green, they're not visible on parent profiles. So this is only for your internal tracking and monitoring, so parents wouldn't see that you've rated them red, amber, green. And what red, amber, green means might be different in one school to another. That's a discussion and a conversation you could have with your teams. I see Caroline's put a question in there about how to upload short videos, and I'll get to that in a second, Caroline. I'll show you how that works, because that's a really useful and powerful tool during this. So anyway, back to our observation. We click on red, amber, green, and we move on to the next stage. For the second level, I don't think we've got any pathways here. No, we don't. Some of you might be confused about what this screen is. This, depending on which framework you're using and which local authority you're in, you may have content on this particular, there's the dog outside. You might have some content in here. Not everybody will, you don't have to use it. If you want to use bespoke content, then you can certainly get in touch with us, and we can add your own framework or your own content in here. So don't worry about that. The final stage of creating an observation is about linking it to previous observations. So if we get onto this stage here, we've got today's observation, which was doing a maths homework, and we've got any next steps that Burton was working towards. So here we've got two observations, one from May and one from July. And what the system is asking is, does the observation we've just done does that contribute towards or achieve any of his outstanding next steps? And if it does, we can link them up together. Each child has a next steps tracker, and you can look at that to see which next steps they're working on and which ones they've achieved. And when they leave, you've got a record of achievement for all the next steps that you've achieved. I'm not going to go into that too much, but again, if anyone wants to do that another time, then let me know. And then we come to publish the observation. You can publish it for multiple children at once if you want to, but in this case, it was something that was originally created by Burton, so we probably wouldn't do that. But yeah, we set this observation to publish, and then we click on finish here. And that's his observation done. You won't want to create an observation for every single home learning, but that's something you could do. And there we can see it's published there. It was observed by Burton Ryder himself and last updated by our teacher, Marion. There we go. So that is how a child would create their observations and how they look when they come into you guys. I'm going to quickly jump down to, well, let's go to, because I'm on the screen anyway. So Caroline asked how could she upload short videos of herself to individual children? We can do that. The best way to do that, Caroline, is through the story function. So remember, observation is learning, story is an experience, but the story can actually double as a little communication tool for yourselves. We've got another one I'm going to come to, messages, in case you haven't seen that, it's quite new. But what we've seen people doing here is using the story function to send little videos or messages. It doesn't have to be a video, it could just be a picture or an attachment or whatever. So let's say that we add a story, and what were we doing? Well, let's say it's welcome back from the Easter break, because a lot of you will have returned this week. And you wouldn't put anything down your learning, you wouldn't put anything down in your child's voice, and then you come down to the stage where you upload a photo or a video. And then what we can do is you could record a video, so just a little welcome message or something, select a file. When you come to this, and then you would upload your video. So where I've uploaded my picture of the Botanic Gardens, you would have a video. Now you can do this straight from your iPad or from your phone or whatever. Bear in mind that if you're doing a video, the longer the video is, the larger your file. And a large file could take a long time to upload depending on your internet connection. The internet connections that, they vary a lot. I was speaking to one school earlier on today who had, I think we have narrowed it down to a problem with the upload speed. So if you're having problems uploading videos, there's a couple of things we can try to work out where the issue is. But most people, it doesn't appear, have many issues. So you could upload a video just the same way as we did with this picture here. And when we come to the bottom, if you want to send this to the entire class or even the entire school, whatever, you could publish this observation for other children. So what this does is when we click on finish here, this will show us a list of all the children in that class. So by default, we're actually only going to see primary 5 here. So here's my description, welcome back. And we say that we actually want to send this to, we could choose, I only want to send this to Greer, Lewis and McKenna if I wanted to, or I could check the whole lot of them and say I want to send it to every single child, and I could have a look at all classes if I want to send it to the whole school. And then when we click on begin, that starts working its way through there. Just a quick one, this one. And when we go back to the observations, our story has been created by our teacher, Marion, and that's been sent out to all the children. So there we go, welcome back, and we've got a picture. But that could be a video, and I've seen some teachers use that really effectively. I would just suggest maybe you don't make the videos too long, because you might then encounter issues with your uploading and your processing times and things. So keep it short and sweet, and that would be great. Now, when that is published, so it's published here, you can see it says published, that is visible to the parents. So if a parent happened to log in, if Burton's parents happen to log in, they would see that, but they don't become notified about this straight away. They will get an email about this or a notification through the app, but that won't come until the evening. So the idea of this was that we'd actually give you guys a little bit of a buffer time so that if you want to publish something, then edit it. You've always got time to make changes before a notification has gone out. But do remember that anything that's published is visible, but you can go back and make changes. If you wanted to send a message immediately to parents, you could use our messages function. So the good thing about stories and these videos that you'd put on is that would remain on this child's profile. So if Burton was in nursery school, nursery class, and he progressed all the way up through to primary 7, that video, his parents could scroll back and they would always be able to find that video and to see that video. What the other option you have is to use the messages function. So for those of you who have not ever used this, it's been really useful over the last couple of weeks because you can immediately send a message to parents. It will either come as it will come as an email, but also as a little notification on their phone if they're using the app. So when I go into messages here, what we have is I've just got a list of all the messages we've made here, but let's say we want to create a new message. At the moment, the messages, if a parent chooses to reply to the email, it will come to whichever email address is in here. We're working on a feature, another one of these ones that we're working on, to allow individual teachers to create messages that will just come back to them. So at the moment, you would need to change this email address, which I know is not ideal, but we didn't really expect it to take off in the way it has. So we're working on an update for that. But yeah, so if a parent replies to an email, it will come back to whichever email address is in here. So bear that in mind when you're creating your messages. So let's say we want to add a new message in. We just have to say decide what our message is. So let's say it's welcome back again. Welcome back. And you could put your message in here. So this is really useful for things like newsletters or for sending out homework or whatever. You can put any message content you want in here. So there's, I'll just write message content. You can have that in there. And you can also add some attachments down the bottom. Now, at the moment, we've got a max file size of 4 megabits. Now, I'm just waiting to hear back to see if this is something that could be increased. And I think one of the reasons why it might not be able to be increased too much is because most email clients or email services, they have limits on the size of an email that can be sent. So if you try and upload a 10 megabit file here, 10 one here, 10 one here, that's the email is going to be rejected by Gmail or Hotmail or whoever else it might be that you're trying to send your email through. So I'm waiting to hear back to see what we can do about that. So the idea of this is for things like newsletters or homework sheets, Word documents, PDFs, that sort of thing. You wouldn't be able to, if Caroline's still here, you wouldn't be able to add a video to this unless it was under 4 meg, and the 4 meg video isn't really probably going to be any length at all. So this isn't the way to do videos. This is really for newsletters, news, anything else that you want to add in like that. Then once we've got our content and our attachments, we click on choose recipients. And we can then say, well, I want to send it to, now I actually haven't set any parents up here, so that's not very useful. But we've got all of our classes here, and I could say I want to send it to all of my parents, or if I had parents set up, I could say I only want it sent to the parents of primary 5, there'd be a checkbox there, the parents of primary 4, there'd be a checkbox there. So you can choose who you want to send that to. And that will go out immediately. So it's a really useful feature, and people have used that a lot over the last, I think we've sent something like 300,000 emails in the last 4 weeks. So a lot of emails have gone out. Okay, thanks very much for that. The last thing I think I should probably focus on for primary schools is the parent contribution side of it. Now this works exactly the same for nurseries as it does for primary schools, but let's say that, let's imagine that maybe you haven't seen that yet. So if we go into, well, let's just go straight back to Burton. A lot of people haven't seen the search bar up here. I don't know if you noticed that, but you can actually search for a child or a parent or a staff member and go straight to them here. Saves a bit of time. Nice little admin tip. So we go back to Burton here. Now, if I look down the left-hand side, we can see this blue button under Burton's called Achievements from Home. So on our account here, we've called it Achievements from Home, but you might call that News from Home, or it could be My Family, or it could be Wow Moments or Star Moments, or I've seen lots of different options. You can call it anything you want, but this is an opportunity for parents to contribute some of the learning that they've been doing and add it to the child's profile. So if you haven't got that set up, I'll just quickly show you how you do that. So these blue buttons here, if you want to set those up, go into your settings again, and configuration up the top. And then if we scroll down, there's one called Parent Contributions on the left-hand side. And you can see the current contributions we've added up. So achievements from home here is one I've got here. You can have multiple of these. So if I add a new one in, clicking on this add button here, let's say I want to call it news from home. Oops. News from, let's say, make that active. These are added to every child's profile. So you can't limit these by class. So every child gets these on their profile. So if I go back to Burton again, if I can spell his name correctly. If we scroll down now, we can see we've got one called News from Home and one called Achievements from Home. So parents can access these exactly the same way as staff can. And if we go in here, you'll see that they can add a new contribution, and we can say that well, whatever they were doing. So we were doing some, we'll call it homework again. That's very unimaginative of me. Some homework. Okay, and then they would put in whatever they were doing here. So you can put in whatever content, and they can upload a photo to that as well. So the original idea was for this to be used for things like if a child learned to ride their bike, or if they had got a medal from a extracurricular activity class, or whatever it would be, you could document that in here. But we're seeing it used a lot now, obviously, for documenting home learning. So it could be work that you guys have sent home to them, or it could be something that's done on their own. And you'll know yourselves that some parents, you'll have a greater level of engagement from some parents than you will for others. So not every parent's going to use this, but for those who would like to, it's available there for them. At the moment, when we add these in, these are separated from the child's profile. So if I go back to Burton's observations here, let's go back to his, oops, I've gone and edited him. Let's go to his observations. So if we go to his observations, when a parent adds in a contribution, currently, it doesn't appear in this section here. That is the next new feature that we're going to have. So you can see here that we've got a story, which is in blue. We've got an observation, which is in green. We will hopefully, I'm hoping it's going to be next week, it's going to be live, but parent contributions will soon appear here. And they will be, I think purple is the color we're going to call it, but it was just a way to include all the home learning that was taking place at home and include it with all the observations that happen within the school. So that for the parent, it's one consistent experience and they can see everything. There'll be a way for you to filter it out. So if you don't want to see home learning, you could filter that out there, but it's going to be a much better way for parents to experience all the learning that a child has ever had. So again, from nursery all the way up to end of primary school. And I'm hoping that goes next week. And what that will mean is that shortly after that, you'll also be able to add experiences and outcomes from a curriculum or a framework to home learning. So you'll be able to link up the learning with all the things that they've done in the school, and that record of tracking and that record of achievement and progress and development won't just stop with the school. That will actually, you'll be able to link that back to the home as well. So hopefully that's interesting and exciting for some of you. It certainly is for us, and it's something that's been asked for a little while for us. So we're nearly there with that now. Okay, so I've got a couple of other points here, but I think we're nearly ready to wrap up with this. But if there's something you want me to look up here, or something to talk about here, then do let me know in the chat. Mary again has asked about some features are not the same on the website and the app. Is there a reason for this? So if you're talking about the staff app, Mary, then yes, the website here is much easier for us to develop. And it has much more features. So a lot of these features that you're seeing won't be available in the staff app. In fact, I think it's very possible the staff app won't be available for much longer on the app stores. You'll still be able to access it through an iPad using a web interface like this, but the app is very difficult to develop for. So all these new features are only going to be, or first anyway, going to be available for the website version. You've also asked about, Mary, some sort of nursery specific things. Maybe Mary, if you contact me separately, I can go into that on a one-to-one for you, because I want to keep this to primaries here. We've got, for those of you who do need help or do need any extra support, we can do webinars one-to-one like I'm doing here. But anytime, if you click on your face up the top of the screen here, you'll see there's a help section here. And if you go into that, You'll then see some frequently asked questions, which are in here, but there's also a box for you to ask for help. And if you type a message into here, that comes through an email to us, and we're usually pretty quick to get to that. Also on our website, which is just learningjournals.co.uk, there's this little live chat button down here. So you can add in any questions that you want to know about, and we'll get back to you. You can see that I'm currently online. And we've also got our phone number up here, and there's contact forms and things on here as well. So very happy to do any extra training that anybody needs, because I know that for a lot of us, this is not the way we planned on spending these times, but we can try and make the best of it. Kirsty has asked, can she post tasks or activities for a child group or a whole class? Yeah, Kirsty, you can, and that's very similar to what I did for Caroline. If we go to a child's profile, you could use that same story function to send a task out to all the children or all the class. So we would add a story here, and we would say this week's homework, and again you can upload documents or attach files, or just simply detail your tasks here. So you could say task 1 is blah blah blah, and put that all in there, and then you can publish this for other children. Click on finish, and then you just choose, I actually want to send it to all my children in primary 5, and we can do that here. And then we click on begin, and that's it, sending it over to all other children. So they would receive all those tasks to their profiles, but you probably want to send a message to all the parents to let them know that that's there, or whatever other channels you've got of keeping in touch with your children there. For those of you who want to follow up, I did mention this earlier on, but we've got our previous webinars that we did. So we did one specifically on parent contributions, one on observations and stories, tracking and monitoring and reporting. So they're all available to watch. If you just go to our website, scroll down the very bottom and click on this webinars link, that will take you straight there. Hopefully this has been of use to some of you. We've got so many more users than we ever expected to have, especially from primary schools. So if things like support or answering emails are slow, I do apologize about that. We're working through everything to get to you as quick as we can. And these new features, we've got so many suggestions that have come from people that we're working towards them, and lots of primary schools, lots of great primary schools have helped contribute towards that over the last 6 months, even before the current situation arose. So thank you very much to each of you that are there. Hope this has been useful. We're always available, so do let us know if there's anything else at all that you need. Thanks very much for coming, guys. We're going to post this video to this page, and that should be up either later this afternoon or it'll be up tomorrow morning. All right, thank you very much. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.